one's behind the big trees. You know, and if you notice, I'm sort of the little tree. Did you know my legs are as long as yours? They are. How far do your legs go? Waist to ground? Me too. Yeah, we're going to talk about anchors. How do you anchor a class? How do you create an anchor? How do you create a memorable event? How do you do something that creates the desire for someone to want to come back and yes, sir, may I have another? I have to be careful because I found out the chair of the psychology department's here, and my psychology is sort of twisted. You know, I once had a doctor offer to give me what's the big book by anatomy, Graves? Because your knowledge of anatomy, Dan, is close to voodoo. And I said, well, my psychology is pretty close to the same thing. But let's talk about an anchor. Let's talk about how you're going to teach a class. By the way, did you notice that inflection is important? You know what inflection is? You know what pauses are?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Have you ever heard somebody who wants to teach like this and they just go on and on and on and on? And pretty soon, you know, I have no idea what you're saying. Your eyes have glazed over, and most of you have done that right now. The only time they stop is when they need to take a breath.
Right there.
Isn't that right? And you go, you know, I have hostages here. I'm going to take one out. It's going to be me. I already teased this guy earlier. How many fingers do I have? 11. 11. Well, you going to believe me or your lying eyes? Want me to count? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. What's 6 and 5? He goes, something wrong. My finger on it. So we have a lot of fun. Okay, spread out just a little bit. Here we go. Ready? Stance. Here we go. In the ready stance. Okay, so I'm just going to give you one of my typical karate class lessons. Sort of typical. Every time I say stance, you say, sir. Sir. Okay. What if it were ma'am? There better be a ma'am up here. We call him a ma'am. Not no ma'am. Okay, here we go. Ready? Stance. Right foot back to a fighting stance. It's not bad. Do you know I can talk louder than all you people put together? Stance. Here we go. Okay, no step. We're going to throw a punch. Hand goes straight out, straight back. Straight out, straight back. Ready? Fire! What? Ready? Ready? Get set, move! I just made that last one up to see if you do it. Ready? Okay, now when you punch, hand goes all the way out, turns over, all the way back. I want you to make your elbow touch your ribs.
Yes, sir.
All right, here we go. Ready? Fire! Fire! Means go. Where are you people from? Don't you know synonyms? How many times did I say hut? How many times did I say move? How many times did I say fire? You punched on every one of those. You won't punch on this? Ready? Oh, very good. Okay, let's talk about dig out.
Sir.
So here's an anchor. An anchor seals things up in here. There's a lot of ways to anchor it. Okay, I'm going to keep looking over here because if I get real off track, she'll go. Okay, anchor, seal things. What's one of the ways that I can keep someone's attention? So you got all this class. You ever had this as an instructor? You get out here and you sort of get wrapped up in this one person, and you have no idea what the rest of the class is doing. And they're probably just sort of mildewing. That's what they're doing. It's one of my good ones. Okay, so the way I do that, see, is I can come over here and look at this, and then I can go over there and go. Get a thumbs up. You know what this person will think? Well, you've been watching me all the time. And they'll also think you're probably going to be watching me the next 5 times I do whatever it was I did. Do you see how you can anchor someone with a look? Parents do it all the time, don't they? Yeah, you're about to get because you did whatever it was you weren't supposed to do. That's an anchor. How about a physical touch?
Yes, sir.
Physical touch is very powerful, all right? So I'll come over and I'll take someone and I'll put their hand right here and I'll bring it right back and then I'll step back and I'll watch them do it. Okay? But the whole time, by the way, if I know where his hand's supposed to be, do I have to watch him while I'm doing that?
No, sir.
No, I can be looking over here. Hey, that's right. Am I still helping this guy?
Yes,
Am I
sir.
still helping this one?
Yes, sir.
Yes. You know what happens? If you're looking at one person, do you think everybody else is going to be kind of wondering when I'm going to be looking at them?
Right.
Yes, sir.
All the time. All the time. Very powerful. I seldom stand up and teach right up here. I am the walking boss. I'm through that crowd all the time.
Yes, sir.
Moving around, moving back. You don't want to be stationary. That's an anchor. Does everybody, I'm sure the adults here that have been through it a while understand learning styles? Understand learning
Yes, sir.
styles?
Yes, sir.
People,
Yes, sir.
people learn. Okay, I saw that. So you know what? You know what it is there? Leave that out.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we are at ease. It's okay. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but and I know you're being respectful, but I sort of have guidelines. Captain Jack Sparrow is my hero. There are no pirate rules. There's only sort of pirate guidelines. I like the guidelines, and I tend to operate on the extreme anyway. And you can put your hands together. Do we walk around like this? Go through doors like this? You know, do they get through? Okay, so physical learning styles are visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. Okay? Some people learn by watching, some people learn by hearing, some people learn by doing. You can learn from all three, but you just have one you kind of prefer. So the question is, how do you know which one is which? How do you know if this person's auditory or this person's visual or this person's one that kinesthetic? How are you going to know that? That wasn't rhetorical. How are you going to know that? You should watch them. So here's what I learned that by observing. I look at this person and I say, well, hey, do you know how to do da-da-da-da-da? Well, no, but if you show it to me once, I can do it. What are they? Visual. You go, or you get some of the kids, you know, and you put your hands on, you go, and they sort of resist you. Just explain it to me. Got you. Right? Or someone else, you know, they got there and they say, you know, I sort of have to do it once and then I've got it.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. Do you know who made that famous? McDonald's hamburgers. You know, if you wanted to buy a McDonald's franchise, you would have to go to the University of Hamburgerology. It's true. I don't care if you're a millionaire. You must go to that university if you want to have a franchise. And then you can give them $1 million to have one.
Sir.
And in there, they have this thing called see, say, do. So the thing about McDonald's is you can go all over the world, and for the most part, they all taste the same. The quality's all the same. It's always pretty much coming out the same. And they're running multi-billion-dollar businesses with minimum wage high school students. Well, how do you get quality like that from someone who's like, yeah, you know, and then the night we got prom, you know? They're not exactly motivated for that, are they? Okay. And they said, here's how we make a hamburger. Okay, here we go. All right, now you watch, and I'll do. Take the patty, hamburger, pickle, mustard, boom, wrap it up, there you go. Okay. Watch, watch, watch. See me do it. Then they'd say, okay, now you do it, I'll watch and I'll talk you through it. And then you get to come up and do it. Okay, take the hamburger, take the patty, da-da-da-da-da-da. And then the third one is, okay, do it, and I say nothing. If you couldn't get to do it, you go back to see. So we tend to go back to say. No, let me tell you again. No, go all the way back. So this is show me, listen to me, then let me do it. You know where we had trouble as karate instructors? Let them do it. Just let them do it. Okay, so they fell down, but you know, you fell down better this time than last time. Isn't that right? Okay, so that's the see, say, do. You understand the 3 learning styles, right? Or you've heard of the 3 learning styles. And then you have to practice that all the time. A good instructor will teach in all 3 of those all the time.
Yes, sir.
Right? Watch me, hear me. I'll come over and help you from time to time. Okay? It's pretty hard to teach karate without a partner, you know that?
Yes, sir.
And if I have a partner, someone's going to actually touch somebody. Unless you're in Demolition Man, just do that right over them again. Okay, all right, let's talk about how you communicate and how you talk. By the way, do I talk fast?
No, sir.
I talk a little fast. If you talk slow, do you realize, have you ever heard of the circadian rhythm?
Yes, sir.
See, I'm not fast. I'm about, so the circadian rhythm states that, you know, about every 20 minutes or so, people just kind of go. And they're back. They don't actually go to sleep. If you're teaching seminars or you're a teacher in school, you can watch the class go, and then they just pick back up. Well, I know, why don't we teach a 3-hour nonstop thing and wonder how much of that you retain? Well, you'll retain about 20-minute cycles of that. So what you want to do is mix it up. So I've had you standing here for a little bit because I know I'm funny and short. But you need to do something different, and that's called a pattern break. I need to break the pattern. So don't spend all your class. We're going to work on the reverse punch tonight until we drop. Well, there's a plan for non-remembering. By the way, if you're going to work on a reverse punch, by the time you're white belt until you're black belt, how many do you think you'll throw?
Some.
Some. A lot. What, I have to do them all tonight? No. I mean, do you think I'll be fixing it tomorrow night, the next night, and the next night? Yes. Well, give them a break. Let's do some reverse punches and tune that up. You know, that's looking pretty good. Let's go do some front kicks. All right, hey, let's do 10 more reverse punches, okay? Do you see how I break up the pattern and the rhythm?
Yes, sir.
It just makes it a little more fun. So here we go. Right foot back to a fighting stance. I didn't say the word. Say the word. Ready, move. Not ready. Pretty fast for a taco. You're going to have to move a little quicker. Ready? Fire! Okay, reverse punch. Ready? Move! Oh, come on. Put your heart in it, cupcake. Move! Switch! On your mark, ready, get set. Oh, my gosh. Ready? Move! Ready? Move! Like you. Don't ever hit me with that, okay? All right, here we go. Ready, move! Ready, switch! Switch! What is wrong with this picture? One more. Look at everyone else. I got black belts that do that. You know, that just happens. What's wrong with this picture? So can I, by the way, can I kind of broadcast messages to a group?
Hey.
So I can go to a group and go, okay, everybody, this is what we're doing. That's called broadcasting a message. Okay? And there's 3 means of communication: broadcast, rifle ball, we call it rifle ball, and a ricochet. Okay, so stance. Hey! I say, okay, this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing, and I turn to one and I go, and I don't know, tell me your name. Sophie? I say, Sophie, is that a good stance, Sophie? She'll fix it. You know what the rest of the class will do? Drop one. I didn't say anything to you. If they were in a good stance, they'll immediately move to a bad one. Because everybody else has moved, isn't that right? And oh, you mean I can control that class by saying one thing to one person? By the way, did I tell her it was a bad stance?
No, sir.
No. I said be conscious. Is that a good stance? Yeah. And then, so that's the rifle ball. So the broadcast says everybody in a good stance. The rifle ball says, Sophie, is that a good stance? Or do I like that stance? Which is my favorite. Do I like that stance? If I ask that question, it's automatically too late. When you know I don't like it.
Yes, sir.
Okay? And then there's the ricochet. So Sophie's in a stance. What's your name? Bryce. Right, so I'll get Sophie in a stance and I'll go, Sophie, do you like Bryce's stance? What? Guess what Bryce will do? And everyone else will still do it. Do you see how you can play with this in your whole class?
Yes, sir.
You know, do you like his stance? No. Well, now what do I have? You know, I found that peer pressure is actually a wonderful thing to use. Now, I like it. I use it all the time. Now, Raymond doesn't do this so much, but in my school, if you misbehave, the person next to you gets to slap you. Not here. You just go slap him. Oh, okay. Now, I mean, I got to where in class, you know, you can slap the person for messing up only with my permission. There's no free slaps. No one gets hurt, no one gets squared. You just sort of scruffing them up a little. And then sometimes if they're really bad, I'll tell them they just have to slap themselves. Sorry. And then it got to be so bad that when you came in, before we bowed, I told everyone to just go ahead and pre-slap. Just go ahead and slap yourself because you know I'm going to get you somewhere along the line. Do you see how you can work with some of that? So you can take that kind of attitude and pressure and make it fun. By the way, we sort of all grew up with physical outside activities, right? How many of the kids grew up that way now? Not so much. I know you do. But see, after a while, suck it up, cupcake, suck it up. Isn't that what you want? I mean, eventually, just me playing with them, I come into the kids and they go. You know, I just tell them, remember, you're like a turtle. Hard out of the shell, don't feel pain like ordinary people. That's why you're in God. But you can play with this. Now, I'm careful who I sort of target on that, right? Now, I'm not after someone coming over and it's black, although some of the girls are pretty vicious. But, you know, it's just, you know, you just get a slap, right? And then pretty soon, you know, he is always ready for that. And that's what you're after. Does that make sense? Yes. So I can do all of this verbatim, but I sort of made notes. It's the secret notes. Got your attention, learning styles, teaching in all three, see, say, food, thumbs up. That's what I'm talking about. Sometimes I whisper in your ear. You ever heard that one? Very powerful. Okay? Let me give you an example. So I had a student once, he was, you know, pretty close to autistic. I mean, he couldn't get, you know, you'd say punch. The punch go up here, the punch would go down there, the punch would go wherever it went. Right? So we had a big seminar one year, and he came to me and he said, would it be okay if I play the piano at lunch? Well, what? You can play the piano? Yes, I can. Well, you can't throw a straight anything. I can play the piano. What will you play? Well, I've been practicing on the Flight of the Bumblebee, and I think I slowed it down enough that my instructor, you practice that too fast? you can do that? Oh, yeah. And this kid sat down at that piano, and I'm telling you, he was transformed. Now, those that study these things say, actually, I understand that completely. But in karate, you know, nothing. So here's what happened in karate. Every time we paired up, it's like being on the baseball team or whatever. Every time we paired up, where was his partner? He had no partner. I pulled all my students over there and said, come here. You owe me. You owe me. Do you remember when you knew nothing? Did I not come over to you and just whisper to you? So that was a message just for you and no one else? Nobody else had to hear the correction or the advice? You owe me. What do we owe you? No one. You owe me no one. I don't ever want to see him without someone to partner him again. And from that day on, man, it was a rush to who was going to be Noah's partner. Well, isn't that what you wanted to learn?
Yes, sir.
Pretty sure. You owe me because when you knew nothing, I whispered in your ear. I took the time to help you. Do you think that me teaching a white belt makes my front kick faster? No, but it's going to help you. And that's the whisper in the ear. Pretty neat story, isn't it? Sir, I made all that up. Okay, all right. So, you put your hands down, relax. Become some kind of militia. Here's a good one. We're going to work out later in the next session. Okay. It says, I tell people that you were always my favorite. You ever heard that one? Tell them all of that. And then here's the next one. I said, you know, so here you got some kid who's really trying hard, doing this, that, and the other. You know, you can tell they're a little frustrated. And I said, you know what? You know how I looked when I was a white belt trying to do a front kick like that? No, how? just like you. I look just like you. Oh, by the way, did I future frame that person?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Very powerful. Don't worry about it. You're going to get it because I used to look the very same way. Not a bad affirmation, is it? Now, you should try that sometimes. You know, not right away because they already know you're going to do it and they'll go, eh. But people will forget that and you can catch them. It's the old part of catch people doing good. Right? So it's basically an analogy that goes right along with praise, correct praise. Praise, correct praise. Okay? And along with that says, I was once just like you, and if I can do it, anyone can do it. Because when I grew up, I was too short, too slow, too fat. And I don't look like I'm going to make it on the basketball team. I pretty much don't have the build to be a runner. Okay? I'm too slow to be in the track. You know, I'm too small for the football team. I didn't do any sports at all. Nothing. I just was the kid that kind of bumbles through school. You probably got something like that, you know. And when I was 21, you know how I started karate? I was waiting on pizza. What? You don't eat pizza? Karate school next door, 20 minutes to kill. By the time the pizza was ready, I'd signed up. Never quit. Ever. From then on. Okay? So you need to find the one who comes to a class like this, you know, and is always, you know, just sort of off by themselves. You may be the best chance they got. Period. Don't pass it up. Okay? Come over here and say, you know what, I was just like you. You know what, I can do it. Come here, I'll help you. Never, ever, ever let the newest loner be by themselves. In fact, the most senior and best of you ought to be their partner every single time.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And you know what? The rewards are priceless. Oh, yeah. And they'll never forget. All right, here we go. Let's see here. How am I doing on this? Oh, here's one. You see anybody else doing that? So you got a class, you know, and we got all kinds of kids and people come. They're ADHD. Of course, nowadays, we call them ADHD. When I grew up, we just called it normal. What's that? Well, they're just wiggling. Why? Well, they're only 6. That's why. You know, they'll be like this. You standing still? Yes. Maybe still doesn't mean what I think it means. Because you're not doing it. All right? So when you get out there in class and you get them, all right, you know, we're working on something and this one over here is now checked out and gone to do whatever he wants to do. And so you, instead of saying stop, you say, hey, do you see anyone else doing that? No. Well, quit doing that. Oh. Right? You get them right back. It's pretty constant. You see anyone else? You see anyone else doing that? No, well, don't do that. By the way, who's in charge of your hands and feet? Well, you should tell your hands and feet to not do that. Well, it's not bad psychology. You should not do that because no one else is doing it. Now, am I trying to make you a robot? No, I'm trying to get you to understand how to fit into the norm. Because if you're always doing that, you'll never actually learn how to meld with a group. Melding with a group means I have to suppress some of my natural inhibitions to go crazy all the time. Okay? How do you learn how? What's the meaning of focus? Do we know about focus? Really, what is focus? You know, it's one of those words, yeah, I know that. Well, what is it? That's right. Well, no, what is focus? What is focus?
Concentrating to the task at hand.
What?
Concentrating on the task at hand.
That's not a bad definition. Thomas Edison, who was considered to be a pretty smart guy, said that his definition of genius was the ability to focus on a specific task for a very long time. So how many people can focus on one thing for a very long time? Very few. And here's what happens. So, and by the way, I'll give you an example. You ever been talking to somebody, you just got to meet some new people, and they come in, and pretty soon you realize, what their name. They just told me their name. And for the rest of the evening, you try and address them as, hey, you, yeah. Why? Where'd you go? Or you ever been studying and read a book and after 3 pages you realize, I have no idea what those last 2 pages say. I have to go back and read them again. Where did you go? You went elsewhere, right? Happens all the time. So when you learn forms, to me forms is a good way to teach you how to focus. And it's pretty hard to do. How long, just give you an example. Pin-on, Shodan. So your pin-on, Shodan. Well, how about, this is probably your pin-on, Nidon, right?
Yes, sir.
Pin-on, Nidon. How long does it take you to do pin-on, Nidon?
About a minute.
No? No? You know how long it takes to do that form? If you just, I'm not saying you run through it, just run it, just kind of doing the form, about 25 seconds. You mean I can't remember what I'm supposed to do for 25 seconds? And you get out there and you start your form and you go, why? Haven't you done it for the last 10 years? Well, yes, but I lost my focus. Okay, so the way you learn focus is it's what I tell the kids. Okay, the first thing you have to do is focus your eyes. Okay, you must look at me. So I'm very specific when I correct and say, okay, you have to look at me. Got it? Got it? Until I get that, I don't move on. Right? You must look at me and acknowledge that you received whatever it was I said. Okay, so you focus your eyes. Then you focus your body. So you can't be talking to somebody who's doing this, you know, and doing that. You have to be still. And then you'll focus the mind. Eyes, body, mind. It's a pretty simple technique, okay? But I just always, you must look at me. Got it? Yep, got it. Okay, now we can go on. Otherwise, you're sitting here talking, and they could still be going over their grocery list. You don't know, right? Until they say, yes, I have it. Okay? I don't actually make you repeat it back. That's sort of like slapping you around after you've been called out for it. But, you know, you're all going to tell me you have it. That make sense?
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So what was Cisse do?
Relearning style, sir.
You're going to show somebody how to do it, and then you're going to talk to them and tell them how to do it, and then you're going to let them do it.
That's correct. That's correct. And can you control somebody with a thumbs up? Yes. By the way, is it control? It's not. See, we think control means, you know, I'm in charge of you. It's not really what it is. It's more like structure. All right? It's much more fun when we have structure. We have that. And we understand, so here's what I tend to do. I ask rhetorical questions. Do I like that student? Does anyone else do it? You know, it really has no answer to it. Well, I don't really like that stance. That's a fair response, all right? Probably get push-ups, but we'll get a response to it. So instead of making statements, no, not that way. I once had a guy that watched actually I once saw it in Garfield. Hey, can you give me some feedback on what I'm doing? Yes, not that way, idiot. Well, that's sort of feedback, but it's not very good feedback. All right? So you have questions. You say, well, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? You know, is that a good stance? Is that what you would naturally want to do? You come up with questions which engage people, because if you make statements, they don't necessarily have to respond until you ask them a question. Well, why don't you just start with that? Hey, good. Okay, we started. Sort of got it going. Does that make sense?
Sir.
This stuff, by the way, is good for kids and adults.
Right.
All right. Oh, here's my favorite. Is your personal happiness important to me? Yes, kids seen it. He's come to my kids' class. Hey, is your happiness important, Hanji? Oh, no. He does not care if we're happy. That's right. What does he care about? Better. You must get better. Okay? How do I get better? Well, don't quit. It's not about try hard. I mean, can you actually try hard consistently at the wrong thing?
Yes, sir.
Yes, that won't make it better. Does practice make perfect?
Yes, sir.
What does practice make? Permanent. Can you lose a bad habit? No, you cannot. Nature will not tolerate a void. You can replace a habit, but you cannot lose a bad habit. So if I'm going to replace it, at least trade up. All right?
Sir.
If you're going to make some mistakes, make some new ones. already seen that one, right? Okay, the subconscious mind does not hear a no. It only hears a positive. So if you're telling yourself, don't do that, what did the subconscious hear? Do that, do that. Well, wait, well, I can't figure out why I'm unable to stop doing this. Well, you're talking to yourself wrong. Let me give you an example. Okay? People that quit smoking do what? They almost always start eating something, right? They go, well, why? Are you hungry? I didn't know it was linked to that. I want something to do with my hands. Oh, that was the problem. So then they go, okay, well, I'm not going to do that anymore. Well, then what are you going to do? I'll replace it with something else that was basically a subconscious habit. I just replaced the habit. And now my lungs are good, but I sort of have a different problem that I have to solve. Well, what do you want to do? Take up smoking again? No, we don't want to do that. Right? So when you try and replace a habit, you have to remember it's not that. You have to learn how to talk to yourself. Do you realize you talk to yourself all the time?
Yes, sir.
You know you can't actually turn it off.
Yes, sir.
Really? I mean, if they give you Thorazine, maybe. They might be, you know, like down there with plants. But otherwise, because you see, you know enough now, if you're asleep, your brain's still working. Well, what's it doing? Oh, well, it's solving problems. It's still working. You cannot turn that off. So if you're going to talk to yourself all the time, then you ought to at least try and remember how and why you say things to yourself. So, let me ask you a question. What's the definition of poise? Play? Now, poise? No, it's not play. That's a good guess. And it's not a dessert served in a wine. That would be poise. What's the definition of poise? Grace under pressure. It's not a bad working definition. Poise is grace under pressure. So, you know, you test, you get out there, you have to have a test, so you're a brown belt. So how many belt tests you've been through? More than one? So how was that last brown belt test? Stressful? Why? Was it your first time? Oh, well, who put that pressure on you? You did. You put the pressure on yourself, right? Now, I'm not saying that since they didn't help a little bit. Okay, they do that. That's kind of their job. But you think they want to see that you know the techniques? If you don't know the techniques, you're probably not testing anyway. Why would I set you up to fail? I never do that. But I want to see if you can do it under pressure. And the pressure was all self-imposed. But have you found that as you got higher in rank, even though the test got harder, you got a little more, I can do this. All right? Isn't that right? You know what? You could have always done it. You just had to learn how to change how you talk to yourself. Poise is grace under pressure. C-say do? What's C-say do?
First you see it, then you say it, tell them.
That's right. That's right.
Then you do it.
Then you do it. Okay. So here's another story. So I read some nice magazine articles from a man named Dennis Waitley. He was the coach for the Olympic teams way back when. And you probably have never heard of Mary Lou Retton. You ever heard of Mary Lou Retton?
Yes, sir.
Ah, who was she? She was a gymnast, right? You know what she did? You know what? You're supposed to say word. Word. Mary Lou Retton was all of 12 years old in the Olympics, right? She's competing in the final events, and she just watched Nadia Comaneci get a 10. The first time a 10 was ever given. Ever. And she's up next. Now, you know, you kind of watch that on TV. That's really not the way the events run, right? They sort of run different events. So she was up next for her event. She was sort of tied with Nadia, and she had to get a 10 to beat her. And she's thinking to herself, 12 years old. How old are you? 11. Oh, almost. She was older than you by a inch. 12 years old. And you're getting up on the world stage, and she had to do the pole vault, the The vault horse, whatever. Like, what? That's what it is, pommel horse. She had to do that, and you know what? That was her worst event. So imagine you're at the Olympics, you're tied for first, and you watch this person over here get the first 10 in the history of the world, and you're up next on your worst event, and you're going to have to get a 10 to beat her. And what are you going to say to yourself? Isn't that right? I mean, what would you say to yourself? No way. Isn't that what 99% of us would say? You know what she did? She got up and said, need a 10? Got a 10. Did the vault and got a 10. My goodness, I want to teach kids that. I can do it. I mean, what are you going to do when, you know, it's Hanshi Montoya coming at you and he's in an ugly mood and you're thinking, oh, isn't that right? That is your self-talk. I can do this, I can do this. I'll give you one of the most powerful things you can say to yourself. And by the way, the good news is, if you actually talk to yourself, no one can hear you. I'm just, you know, some people can, but I have a little tinfoil hat that I wear around sometimes, because I'm pretty sure some of you have been listening in on my talk. Okay? But if you talk to yourself, no one will hear you. You know what I want you to do? How many want to try an experiment?
Yes, sir.
I don't know. I don't quite trust this guy. I try it. Okay. No one's going to know. But for 3 weeks, how long does it take to learn a habit? 21 days. Rough to learn a habit. Okay. Every day when you get up, you're in the bathroom and you're doing whatever you do. I don't know what you do. You look in the mirror and you say to yourself, I like myself. I like myself. You know, it's pretty hard to say I like myself and not have a smile. Now the first couple of days you'll go, this is really stupid. Right? But after a week you'll be going, I like myself, I like myself, I like myself. Every day, 3 weeks.